Good morning, everybody. I have had a lot of questions about the new gains system, and I want to make sure that you understand how this works. So, videos seem to be popular, and I thought I would walk you through an example of this on a video. But before we get into the video, I want to review with you some of the acronyms. And the first one is an EFL gain. This stands for Educational Functioning Level. This is sometimes called an NRS gain, which is National Reporting System. Okay, and we'll talk about this in just a little while. National Reporting System is that levels 1 through 6 that students can get on tape. So that's one type of gain. The second type that you need to know about is, of course, the diploma. That is sometimes called HSE or HSED. That is high school equivalency. I can't talk and type. Diploma, HISED or HSE. That's a gain. We have a WDI. That's a workforce development initiative. And there are different types of these I will not go into at this point, but that is a gain. If students complete a workforce development initiative, they get credit for that. And then the new one that's causing all the questions is called a subtest gain. And this is the one that I sent you the video about to document it in Jobs for TN. You have to put it in the measurable skills gain ribbon. So these are the 4 types of gains that we are looking at. The first 3 have been around for a long time, these. But this last one is relatively new. So I want to make sure that you understand each of these and how they work for our program. I will send you the sheet that I'm typing on, so don't feel like that you have to write all this down. If it will work for me to remove the space. Okay, so let's look at a case study or an actual example of this. It's very early. I'm sorry. Okay, let's suppose that first of all, let's look at our table. First column is milestone and date, and you're going to see why the date is so important. The type of gain, is it an EFL, an HSE, a WDI, or an SG? And how does it count for us? So we need to remember that we are accountable. I'm going to put this down here to the federal government. They give us primarily our whole grant. They give us federal funds to conduct adult ed under the WIOA grant or the WIOA law. So we are accountable to the federal government, and they are concerned about, let me just not even go there, federal government. The feds are looking at 1 gain per year per student. If we as a state get those gains, we get funding from the federal government. So it is critical that Tennessee as a state meets the federal requirement for gains, or we don't meet the federal requirement for funding. This gain will always be the most recent entered in jobs. That's why the date is so important. So federal gains count 1 gain per year, and it will be the most recent. The state, beginning this year, allows us to count 1 of each type of gain. So if we go back up here and we see that we have 4 types of gains, students can potentially, one student can potentially earn up to 4 gains on the state system. So why is this important? Why does the state care? If they get a gain, they get a gain. We don't have to worry about them anymore. That used to be our mentality, or it shouldn't have been, but it was. We no longer have that mentality. because the state will give us credit for up to 4 of these. That determines how much funding our district gets. So the federals use the gains to determine how much money the state gets. The state is using up to 4 gains per student to determine how much money our program gets. And I will just go ahead and tell you, if we don't change something next year, we are not going to get the funding that we're used to. And that means that we can't staff positions that we are staffing now. So this is critical for us to keep our funding even at the level it's at. To request more funding would be a long shot, but just to sustain the funding we have, we need to maximize these gains. So at the local level or the district level, this is my system. I am counting every gain of every type for every student. So if a student can get up to 8 gains, we're going to count all of those for your report cards. This is value added to each program. Remember that I told you report cards are not a reflection of you. They are a reflection of that arm of our program. And if that arm of the program is not successful, we're going to have to look at cutting it so that we can fund the arms that are successful. So I want to count every possible gain I can for you. I can only see these gains right now on your dashboard. So if your dashboard is not up to date, I am not going to know about these gains. I need to know the NRS level for each student, and I need you to record these gains for me. So this is how each entity is using our gains. Importance of the dashboard, I just touched on that. I cannot see these gains. There's no way that I have time to run them in jobs. So I'm relying on you to record them in the dashboard. And I'm going to add a column right here for how to do that. So let me just put another column in, and we'll call this one how to record on your dashboard. Okay, so now let's look at a case study or at an actual example. So the first milestone that this student attained came to orientation and scored a 600 on the TABE reading. That is passing. That is a subtest gain. So you will have to go in to Jobs for TN and record an MSG in the MSG ribbon. And I sent you a video last week about how to do that. Okay? So this is one subtest gain. For the feds right now, you have one gain on 915. For the state right now, you have one gain on 915. And for Amanda right now, you have one gain on 915. So on your dashboard for this week, you will put SG, and you can say SG1 to let me know that this student has passed one part of the diploma. Reading is done. Okay, on that same orientation, just the next day, the student passed math at 540. So this is a subtest gain. You will not record it as an MSG because you already have recorded an MSG. The state only lets us count it one time. So for this subtest gain, you do not have to enter in the MSG ribbon. In fact, we don't want you to. You only get to count one of those. So for the feds, you still get to count one a year, but it's the most recent. So that one will count. The feds will not count this one. The most recent one replaces it. So let's cross that out. The state is still giving you credit for one MSG, one subtest gain. So you still have one with the state. But with Amanda, you have how many? 2 gains. Okay, so on your dashboard, at this point, you would record another subtest gain. Or you can just make it subtest gain 2. That's fine, however you want to do it. For this week, since they're both in the same week, I would probably just say subtest gain 2 and negate this one. Okay. All right. This student goes to take the official HiSET Science. This is not a practice test. It's an official HiSET Science test and passes it with a 10. 8 is passing. The student got a 10 on 925. So this is another subtest gain. You do not record in MSG ribbon because one is already sitting there. So the feds are going to negate this gain, and they are going to add in one gain, most recent 925. The state is still counting one gain for that MSG that you entered, but Amanda is counting how many? 3 gains. So at this point, we're going to negate subgain 2. And in this week for the 925, you are going to add subgain 3. Or you can add 1 each time. You could have done subgain 1 on 915, subgain 2 on 916, subgain 3 the week of 925. However you want to record that. I just ask that you not double count them. But this student, for Amanda's purposes, now has 3 gains. That's value added to the program. This student, for federal and state, just have 1 gain. Student goes on 9/16 of 2024. I got these 2 out of order, but that's okay. And passes social studies. That's another subtest gain. Feds are going to negate this one. Actually, let me change this to 25. Otherwise, I'm going to have a mess. Sorry about that. So, federal, I'm going to do it this way. You still count 1 gain. It's a subtest gain. It's the most recent, so 925. State, you still count 1 gain because it's a subtest gain. We can only count 1. But Amanda counts 4 gains at this point. So you would need to replace or make sure somehow that you are communicating to me that this student has passed 4 subtests. Okay. Then we get to the language. The student was at NRS 3 on TABE language and orientation and improved to NRS 4. Student passes a subtest. This also is a past HiSET, okay, past diploma. So what's going to happen over here? Feds are going to give you 1 gain. It's going to be the most recent, so it will be the diploma gain. State now gives you 2 gains because you have a subtest gain that we've been tracking all this time. You also have a diploma. Okay. So Amanda's going to give you credit for 5 gains, and on your dashboard, you will tell me that the student got a diploma, and subtest gains would be 5. So Amanda's actually going to give you credit for 6 gains. HiSET is 1, and those 5 subtests are 5. So 5 and 1 is 6 gains. Okay, let's suppose that the student, oh, there's another one here. I missed one. Do you see it? You've got the subtest because he passed language. You've got the diploma because he passed all of it. You also have an EFL gain because the student went from NRS 3 to 4. So that is an EFL gain. So actually, the state will give us credit for 3. Locally, you will get credit for 7. And on the dashboard, indicate a level gain for me, that the student moved up on the scale. Feds will only count 1. They're going to count the most recent, but the state and local ones really start to change at this point. So then the student graduates with a diploma. Student enrolls in an IET for welding, or any IET, that's a workforce development initiative, and successfully completes that on 12/1. So now we have a WDI gain. Feds are going to count 1. Nothing changes there. It'll just be the most recent. So this one is replaced by this one. How many will the state capture? We've got diploma, EFL, and subtest gain, but a WDI is the 4th type, so the state will give you credit for 4. Amanda's going to give you credit for 8, and here they are. You have a diploma, you have 5 subtests, you had that NRS gain, and now you have a WDI. So 1 plus 5 is 6, 7, 8 gains at the local level. The feds will give you 1 gain, most recent. The state will give you 4 for these 4 types of gains. So this student maximized gains at all levels. This is the ideal. This is what we want to see eventually. I hope this has helped you to understand what is happening with this gain system. And I'm going to send you with this video a copy of this sheet. I'm going to add a little summary on here that just summarizes what I've gone over. Let me remind you how important it is that your dashboard is up to date. I need to see those NRS levels. If I don't, that's going to subtract points on your report card. Not because I'm being picky, but because I need to see those levels to know how to count these gains. Please let me know if you have questions. Keep asking the questions until you fully understand this process, because our program hinges on what's in this video. This is what will keep us open or close our doors. So it is very important that you understand it. I am here if you need me, as always. You are doing a great job. Let's just capture it with all of these reports. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.